Welcome to another, what's the channel called? Classic Car Video Diaries. It's hard to, may change that I think. Now I have over 200 subscribers. Getting a quick Range Rover update for you. The coolant is dripping out of the bottom of the car across the rear subframe crossmember. You can see it. I think it drips when it's cold, but there's evidence of oil in the coolant, so you probably know what that means. And the coolant drops, the coolant level drops just when it's cold. Doesn't seem to when it's hot, but that's probably because coolant expands, so rises, so it appears not to drop. But I'm sure if it's leaking when it's cold, it must be leaking when it's warm as well. Anyway, so what have I found? I'll show you. Range Rover step ladders for short people. So that's the oil water cooler, and I don't know if I can show you this. That's very difficult to see. But down beyond the oil cooler, no, you can't really see it with this light. Down beyond there, it looks quite wet, which must be down in the centre of the engine. So I'm going to take off this donut thing. Take off that donut thing and see what I can see underneath that. Anyway, which I think I'm going to have to take the pollen filter out, which is just two nuts there and that one there. Once you pull that rubber off, so all pretty easy stuff. Famous last words. Oh, I've got the air filter out of the way, not the air filter, the pollen filter, which is quite funny actually, because you can actually see there is a bit of space in the engine bay. Look, there's a great big gap there. This is quite exciting considering the lack of space everywhere else. Getting this donut thing off is quite tricky. There's some nuts at the back there, there's some studs here, there's some nuts there. The trickiest ones seem to be underneath here, so I'm only taking this short video to make a note of this electrical connection that I've undone. This one was stuck and mounted up in there. Hopefully I haven't knackered it too much to get it back up in there and for it to stay there. And it gets pushed up like that. Right, let's see if we can get these two nuts off on here and then see if I can reach one on the other side as well. Right, I failed to get the donut off. I'll show you why. There's this bit is held onto this bit with three nuts that are pretty much inaccessible to the human hand. So the only way I can see is to take off these studs. You can see there's one still on. The other one I've got off by using, I think it was a 4mm hex socket. There's the two this side. You can just see. Oh, there's the other one. Yeah, so these forward two are hidden underneath the rubber or the plastic like trees that the engine cover clips to. But this one ain't moving, so I'm going to have to go and buy the right socket to get that off, because I'm not going to knacker it, because I know that that's just going to be a pain. So I'll see if I can go and find one of those locally. The other thing that's worth a quick look is this. Goes in between those two holes there, under there, like that. It, you know, it's I don't even know if that should be like an open end. Might have a dig around before I go, just for fun, but it certainly doesn't look nice, does it? Anyway, there we are. Right, I'll show you where I've got to with trying to detect my coolant leak. The plan is to get the donut thing off, but I've just found something new, which is quite exciting. The bonnet actually goes up really high. To do that, I'll show you what you do. These bonnet stays, got little clips, you just pull them out with a small screwdriver, they unclip, do them both sides, bonnet lifts up, and then you've got these little sort of safety things here which move from this position, move them over, clip on there, and then the bonnet doesn't fall down and take your head off. My tricky stud is this one here. This has obviously got to come out. I realised that there was I think it's called an E, is it an E4 maybe, to get it off. So I immediately went to the computer and spent some money to buy a set of E sockets, and then suddenly realised that I could employ the 2-bolt method, so I'll give that a go next, the 2-nut method, to try and get it off. I know it's going to be tight, but we'll see how we go. Good. Success for the small man. I've managed to get a stud out. I'll show you what I've done. You can see the offending stud just here with 2 nylock nuts on it. It's just come free, so you can see the studs now moving with the nuts. That's loads of plus gas. I've had to move this thing out of the way. That thing looks like it's, you know, lets air in. This is right gungy inside, and there's a seal here around this donut that looks like it needs replacing, so hopefully I can get that. But I'm going to whip this stud out now, take the nuts off. I'm going to have a cup of coffee. Let me show you how I've got on and what I may have found regarding the water leak. It's obviously very hard to tell, but there's a pipe that goes into the side of the oil cooler, which I think is really loose. So I'll just show you that pipe. I've never actually had to lie on a car whilst working on it before, but that seems to be the only way with these big old girls. Right, so this is the pipe, this one here, and for me, yeah, this is supposed to be on. I can't really imagine that is going to be watertight. So I'm going to change this cooler. It looks to be the original make. You know, I can see sort of oil and stuff in the V of the engine, but that could just be from oil changes. I don't quite know. Anyway, so as I'm here looking at it, I'm going to change it, because it seems to be something that is eventually going to go, and mine may already have gone, to be honest, because if we look at the water bottle, well, let me just get my torch. Not sure if you can see in there. But it's not completely, it's not particularly clear. When you look at it from the side, if I stand the light on it, you can see it is pretty grubby. I think it's either 10 years worth of grub, or it is a bit of oil. I think it's a bit of oil in there. See, oil cooler's off. I'm pretty sure this is the thermostat housing, which I've got a replacement for, because whilst I'm here I'm going to change that. So I've got new O-rings for this part, which is the oil cooler oil feed to the turbos. Those O-rings, 2 of which they are 26 quid each from Maltings. I'm sure there's less expensive ones that you can buy, but I don't want to do this job twice. And I've got a new one of these pipes as well, and I've also got a new vacuum pipe, which is this one here that goes down to the actuator, and you can see my cable tie fix that I think is what's fixed the secondary turbo actuator not working properly. Anyway, I need to crack on, get the old cooler back on, get the thermostat housing changed, give these things a bit of a clean out, and also I need to clean out the inside of the donut. See how we go. Right, so here's what I found out. I'm actually going to not refit this today because I took this off here, that off there, and that off there. Both of these parts have got kind of O-rings in here. So where is it? One there in this one, and in this one. Let's see if you can see it. Yeah, an O-ring. Yeah, there it is. An O-ring in there, both of which look pretty flat. So it seems fairly pointless refitting these to the new thermostat housing without buying new O-rings, which I'm sure will be pence because they're just water ones. So that's not going back on today. I'll just see what I can fit and then get those O-rings bought and fitted. Right, so I've slight delay on the thermostat housing, but what I can do is change these two O-rings on the oil turbo oil feed pipe, which goes to the back of the oil cooler. It's known for leaking. It was recommended to me by Maltings. Maltings? Yeah, Maltings. So these are the two old ones. I broke one getting it off, but they're pretty hard and brittle. These are the two new ones. So that's the part number of the genuine ones. They are, I think, about 26 quid each. So there you go. 50 quid's worth of O-rings. Have to make sure I don't break them putting them on. Right, just so you can see what I'm getting for my money. It's the old one on the right and the new one on the left. So old one's just gone, well, larger on the outside, smaller on the inside, I'd say. But there we are. See, put them on carefully. There we go. It's the new ones fitted. Rolled them just over the top. That one popped in there first, and the one at the back rolled over the front one onto the back. Morning. It's a Saturday morning. I've got 2 full days on the Range Rover to get it back on the road. Refitting the oil cooler and the thermostat housing, which is possibly the cause of the coolant leak. But first of all, I've got to clean the donut. I'll just show you the condition that it's in at the moment. So I haven't done any cleaning of this yet. I've noticed this seal here is probably pretty much end of life. So I've got a new one of those in the house. Interestingly, this first outlet is the grubbiest. The ones at the rear aren't too bad. We're going to give them a good old scrape around. I may shove some newspaper through it, but we'll see how far we go. I think when we get on, see what sort of job it is. Right, join me in a bit. Right, cleaning this isn't a quick job. The way I did it was with some brake fluid and lots of newspaper. That's about 1/3 of the newspaper that I used, and I basically took this sensor out, which I think it's an air sensor, but it's completely clogged up, so it obviously couldn't sense anything at all, I doubt. but oh, I'm going to need gloves on. Never mind. So it's as clean as I got it, and I did it by spraying it or removing the worst stuff with a scraper, and then using this piece of bamboo, just rolling up newspaper, shoving it down every hole, sort of systematically, trying to, and turning this thing upside down, so you got to all the stuff at the top as well. But it's as clean as I think clean as it needs to be. But I need to crack on now and get on with the stuff under the bonnet as the rain has calmed down a bit. Right, first job is to refit the new thermostat housing, but because of the way I took it off, I need to get this back on first. This is the old O-ring, that's the new O-ring to go in there once I've cleaned that old gunk out. So I'll get that on and refit this. Right, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to actually film myself doing this because I probably need to get a tripod or something, but I'm going to put a bit of silicone spray on that hose there. Oop, that one. That's got a bit of a silicone on it. Hopefully that'll push over it and I can slide the thermostat housing under all this gubbins onto there. Yeah, so that's gone on quite well. You can just see the top of the block down there, and the shiny O-ring, which has also got some silicone on it to help it slot into that hole. But that's gone on okay so far. So the thermostat housing is now back on, bolted down by these 4 8mm bolts. These are 2 front hoses are connected. I haven't put the top bit on yet, which I think feeds the heater system in the car, because I want to put the pipe that goes from here to there and connects to the oil cooler on next, just because it seems to be the most logical next step. So this is the pipe that goes to the oil cooler. Obviously feeds the water to the oil cooler. Good, so I've got this oil cooler stroke water hose back on. That wasn't too difficult, a bit tight, but a bit of silicone spray helped it on. And you get the little catches that you just sort of push off to release the circlips. I'm going to do this top bit here, which feeds the heaters, I think, and then the top radiator hose. And these clips all have this O-ring inside, which I don't know whether you can really see, but it's no longer an O-ring, it's more of a square profile. So I've changed those. They're all the same, the ones that go in here, in this one, and also in the top of this. It's all the same part number, you know, like 90p each, and they're all knackered, so it seems to be a sensible thing to change. Right, I've got the thermostat housing back on. Just a bit of overview of the experience. This clip here, that one, was a real pain to get on, because once the thermostat's on you've got to sort of push the hose back, but it was alright. What else? Oh, I've got to tighten the nuts up. There you go. It's nothing like checking. The next thing is a fuel pipe that goes from here to here and fixes on top of this housing here with this nut. So that's the next thing, but I'm going to tighten those up and then go and have a cup of tea. So I've got all the water circuit back up and running. I think the next stage is fitting the oil cooler, but it's just stopped raining. It's now 3 o'clock and it's getting dark at 4:30, so I'm not sure whether I'm going to tackle fitting my nice, expensive, genuine oil cooler this afternoon. I might wait till tomorrow morning. So here's my new oil cooler, the Man and Hummel, which is the original item. I'm going to offer it up today. So there's, I think this is the gasket that is probably the reason that most of these fail. So I'm going to give that a smear of new oil and then stick it on. I was just doing a quick visual check that the old one, or the new one, is the same as the old one. Interestingly, that's the nut I put there, that's for the turbo oil feed. So the nut's still on the old one, so don't throw it away yet. It's identical. Luckily, the new one comes with a fresh oil filter. When I took the old oil cooler off, I took all the bolts out and shoved them in a piece of cardboard, front and rear, because I didn't know whether they'd all be the same length. I think they are all the same length, so it doesn't matter where they go, but I just did that as a bit of a precaution, really. Anyway, let's bolt it back on. Right, the light is fading, so I'm going to call it a day. I'll show you where I've got to. So I've got the thermostat housing all fitted up, lots of wiring still to connect, obviously the plenum still to go on, and I've got the oil cooler back on and torqued up, and I've got the turbo, the oil feed back on with the two O-rings that are about 25 quid each. But I've been assured they're the only ones that work, so for the sake of saving, I don't know, 40 quid or so, it seems to be sensible to use the genuine ones. But that's not bad. I'm not going to go any more today. I'm going to just tidy up, and I'm going to put a bit of cardboard over here, so if it rains tonight, this stuff has a chance of drying out by tomorrow, and hopefully we'll get it up and running again. Breathe a bit of life and warmth back into the car. Okay. Morning, day 2. Lovely sunny Sunday morning. Hopefully getting the car running today. I'll show you where I've got to. Hold on, I'll show you my first job of the day. First job is going to be refitting this. This is a vacuum hose that is hopefully going to replace my one that's currently attached with a cable tie. It wiggles around, finds its way up to kind of there, and that is also pretty loose on that junction. Can I see it? Yeah, on that junction there, that's also pretty loose. I've just got the old vacuum pipe off, and I just thought I'd show you this to compare the two. Let me get them quite close to each other. So you've got the, let me get them level, there we go. Old one on the left, I'll get this right this time, old one on the left, new one on the right. As you can see, over time the internal diameter of the old one is just expanded, so I'm sure that's not providing a good vacuum, and it's the same story, no surprise, at the other end. Not quite as marked, maybe it's not under as much strain and stress. I'm making good progress so far. This is all back on, these are all tightened up. A bit fiddly at the back, the other connections. I broke this one getting it off, so it's cable tied on. What else? A couple of nuts here, bolts here, a couple of bolts here, I'll be really careful getting all these back on without sort of squashing them. So just the whatever this thing's called at the front, I'd call it a throttle body, and then got to change the oil, so I've got some more oil to go in it, then top up the fluids and then see if it starts. So quick wrap up on the work I've done most recently. I'm glad to say it's all back and running fine. When I first started it, it turned over for a long time. Bearing in mind I changed the oil, topped up the coolant. The engine turned over for a long time, but I think that's because I disconnected the fuel pipe that seemed to link the two fuel banks together. So it's probably just a fuel pressure thing. But then I had an engine warning light, but that went off after a while. So all up and running again. So oil cooler done, thermostat housing done. Next job, work out what's wrong with the front right suspension, because it's wobbling and it's not knocking, but it's obviously something worn. So let's see. Anyway, thanks for watching this video through. If you've made it to the end, congratulations. I'll see you again soon.